The number of Wet'suwet'en solidarity protests may be small, but their impacts are huge.
And tonight, those protesters forced two of Canada's biggest rail lines to a halt. With just a half dozen blockades, demonstrators have pushed Via Rail to an almost complete standstill. And CN, a backbone of the Canadian economy, has shut down lines in at least half the country. The protests are in solidarity with the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs, and they are opposed to a natural gas pipeline project in northern BC. Demonstrators say they won't go unless the will of the chiefs is respected. Greg Rasmussen now on the growing impact from the standoff.
In Quebec, one of a number of blockades that's managed to bring rail traffic to a screeching halt.
We are one people, so we have to stand together. We have to stand and help each other.
Another is in Saskatchewan.
We don't agree with what's happening and that we stand for the environment.
And Ontario.
When these invaders are coming to us, speaking to us about colonial rule of law, those are your laws.
With only a few exceptions, Via passenger service was cancelled across the country, leaving some passengers irate.
You ever try to block a road or something, it would never be tolerated. You'll be in jail for in 24 hours.
You're wasting your time here.
In BC late this afternoon, commuter rail service along a CN line was cancelled due to a new protest.
If they want to support, then you don't block public access to transportation for thousands of people.
CN, which moves $250 billion worth of goods by rail each year, said it's shutting down its entire eastern network because the orders of the court in Ontario have yet to be enforced and continue to be ignored. Provinces hit by the disruptions are once again calling for Ottawa to clarify its consultation process with Indigenous groups.
These things can be spelled out, and they can be spelled out and need to be spelled out because we are not getting anywhere as a country.
Amid the escalating tension, some progress. This blockade ended today after BC's government agreed to new talks with the Gitxsan and Wet'suwet'en First Nations.
But now, with Canada shut down, the pressure's on. It's an opportunity for the governments, provincial and Canada, to correct this.
With barricades gone in some areas, going up in others, there was this close encounter between a train and pipeline opponents in BC early this evening, showing it's very much a fluid, uncertain situation for all. Greg Rasmussen, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, Prime Minister Trudeau had tried as much as possible to stay out of this, urging both Wet'suwet'en leaders and the BC government to find a solution on their own. But as Olivia Stefanovich explains, today his hand was forced.
After days of political pressure over blockades like this one, today the Prime Minister responded.
Obviously, we're a country of the rule of law, and we need to make sure that those laws are followed.
A significant shift in tone. The federal government had described this as an issue between British Columbia and the Wet'suwet'en. Now, as the Canadian economy braces for damage, the Liberals changed their strategy. This morning, a letter from the Minister of Indigenous Services to the Mohawk, inviting them to a meeting with one request: discontinue the protest and barricades of the train tracks, and encouraging them to end the protest here in Tyendinaga, Ontario, in support of the Wet'suwet'en. The Prime Minister may be overseas, but he has been getting briefed regularly on the situation. And so today, he wrote to the hereditary chiefs offering to have Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennett attend the meeting between the Wet'suwet'en and the BC Premier to discuss the current situation and to seek a process that avoids such situations in the future.
I had a long and constructive conversation with Premier Horgan on the flight.
And while barricades in some parts of the country come down, others, like this one in Ontario, remain, with some protesters not yet ready to give up. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Tyendinaga.